Hi guys, my name is Amish Tripathi and I'm the director of the Nehru Centre. The Nehru Centre is the cultural wing of the Indian High Commission in the UK, and we've been in existence for many decades, and we organize wonderful events at this very auditorium, which is in Mayfair in central London. Sadly, as you can see, the auditorium is empty. It has been empty since we were all put into lockdown due to the coronavirus pandemic. But what we Indians believe is that the other side of a crisis is an opportunity. And what we have done at the Nehru Centre is moved all our events online. So now if you attend our online events, every single seat is a VIP seat. Like you get a front row at our events. No trouble of parking, no trouble of traveling all the way. And most practically all the programs that we would do, like literary discussions and dance performances, musical performances, we are doing them all on our online channels. You can register for our newsletter at our website nehrucentre.org.uk. You don't need to write them down, they will be displayed at the bottom of the screen. You can also come to our Facebook page, which is a verified page, the Nehru Centre. You can follow updates on all our events on Twitter as well, the Nehru Centre, that's also a verified account. Or you can come to our YouTube channel, again, the Nehru Centre. We are nothing if not consistent. I hope you do come to our online channels and enjoy the events that we are putting up for you. Thank you so much for all your love and support. Namaste, Jai Hind. Hi guys, my name is Amish Tripathi and I'm the director of the Nehru Centre. We recently had a wonderful program, one of our biggest hits, with Sudha Murty ji, and also that I am personally a huge fan of. And she's come out with another book. It's called Gopi Diaries. It's a second of the best-selling Gopi Diaries series. And since it's a family, it's a children's book, it celebrates family, and it's a book of a family from the perspective of the dog, of Gopi. So we thought it'll be fun just to have the entire Murthy family out here. So this is going to be one big fat happy Indian family event. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. But first, if we can call in the author, Sudha Murty ji up on stage. Namaste Sudha ji, how are you?
I'm fine. Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste Sunanda ji.
Namaste. Here is Gopi.
And there's Gopi.
Okay.
Hi Gopi, how are you?
Gopi is concentrating on eating up. Gopi, up and say. Here is Gopi.
Okay, that is Gopi in the children's book, and that is Gopi in real life. This is the story of Gopi second year. It's like a fantastic, one of the most fun I've had reading a children's book. If we can get the rest of the family also up on stage, and then we launch the book. So if we can get Mr. Murthy up. Namaste, Mr. Murthy. How are you, sir? And up out there is Akshata and her two lovely children, Krishna and Anushka. And we also have Rohan and Aparna. All of them are stars.
And
It's wonderful.
Shruti.
And we have Shruti out here as well. Shruti and her daughter, who's also named Krishna, just to make sure we have no confusion, we will call her Kiki and we'll call Krishna Krishna. Kiki, is that okay? Okay. So what we're going to do is we'll start off this the event with a virtual launch of the book. We don't get the pleasure of ripping apart the wrapping paper these days as we used to in the olden days. But we can do what we can do offline, we can do online as well. So here is the virtual launch of the Gopi Diaries. Gopi, you better watch this. You're the star of the show, man.
Yeah, he'll come up now again. Gopi, come up, Gopi. Up, Gopi.
All right, let's play the video.
Up. And sit properly. Sit properly. Sit, Gopi. Here is Gopi. Gopi is restless. He wants to come to London, I think.
I think so. I think so. And I think he enjoyed hopefully that book launch of his. Sudhaji, if I can start with you.
Yeah.
What got you started on this children's book series from the perspective of a dog? Because I guess Gopi is not going to be on board anymore. But what got you started on this series? And from the perspective of a dog, that is very different. Difficult to write.
Well, actually, I'm used to dogs because I was brought up with the dogs for a long time. We had Raja, we had Julie in our house. But Gopi came as Rohan Murthy's dog. And one day, HarperCollins people came to meet me and they asked me, will you write some stories, general? Then I said, I don't have any ideas right now, I'm very busy. Then Gopi came to my office and he was sitting in my conference room. When they saw Gopi, they said, why can't you write on a dog? I said, 100 books are there on dogs. What can I write? They said, try something like that. But that evening I thought over it. I said, I look Gopi as a dog. What does Gopi look at me? Like a mother, grandmother, or what is his opinion about me? Then I said, okay, let me assume that I am a dog. And then I thought of writing dog's point of view, how he looks at Rohan. He calls it Appa. Appa means father. Aparna is Amma, that means mother. I am Ajji, that means a grandmother. Tachi Ajji is my sister. So Ajja is Murthy. And that way, Shruti is Didi. So I thought all these human relationships with respect to Gopi, and I wrote this book. That is the first book, Coming Home. Second book, Finding Love.
Very nice, very nice. And this book has been a massive bestseller in India. So much so that you launched a second in the series. That's the one we are launching today. The second book in the series.
And there is a quiz. There is a quiz on Gopi's the book, Gopi's Diaries. Here is the quiz. Okay, where Shruti is whacking Gopi because he wants to eat a fish in a pot, water body. You have a small water body. So this is the quiz. So Gopi has now 2 books. One is Gopi Coming Home, and second one is Finding Love. These are the 2 Gopi books. Actually.
Awesome.
This one. Okay.
And since this is a children's book, I guess it's a good idea to jump to the children. I enjoyed reading the book, and Akshata, if we can pull you up, because Krishna and Anushka, I read in the book that when you guys came home, you ran immediately to Gopi and you hugged him, and your mother Akshata was kind of staying back. Is she scared of dogs?
Yes. No, she gets scared of big dogs. And
she's scared of big dogs. Okay.
Yeah. I say my comfort level is not the same as theirs, but increasingly they are getting me acclimatized to the world of dogs.
Okay, because I got to make a confession, Anushka. I am very scared of dogs.
I don't like dogs at all. Seriously.
Krishna,
Yeah.
you
So
Yeah.
actually, I could identify with what your mother did.
Yeah. How do you feel about dogs?
I don't mind any dogs and I love Gopi.
Oh, you love Gopi.
I don't mind, right? It's more like I love dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what's your favorite breed?
Golden retrievers.
Golden retriever.
Not golden retrievers cost lions though, because they're just too big.
Yeah, and
Shall we ask
I will never
Kiki, Krishna, what her
yeah.
favorite breed is?
And I was about to come to you, Kiki. Your mother stopped Gopi from eating some fish. Do you know that?
No.
No, really.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Have you read the book?
Yeah, yeah.
And what do you like most about Gopi?
I liked when he spent the day at the office and also when he found love.
When he found love. Oh, how sweet is that? Maybe she should write some books. If I can come to you, Rohan and Aparna, one of the parts that I found sweet in the book, and feel free to expand on this, was the two of you telling I love you to each other and Gopi sitting in the middle, assuming that you were telling him. So, how did this go?
So, the same year that Gopi came home, which was 2019 January when he came home, about 8 months later, Aparna and I decided to get married, and we've been friends for a long time. We've known each other and so on. And so in some superstitious level, we all believe that Gopi, certainly my mother believes that Gopi brought that luck of love and many other good things in our family, and of course and then we got married in December, so our marriage being one example of what we brought into the family.
Yeah. And during our courtship phase too, I mean, so much of our time was spent, with Gopi, taking him out, buying him treats. So yes, in some ways, that scene in the book is very apt and true, I would say.
Which actually, in terms of emotions, one of the thoughts that occurred to me, Mr. Murthy, I was wondering if you could come in on this. That, when we are children, all of us enjoy the pleasure of emotions. And then sadly, we grow up. And there's, of course, a beauty to intellect. It raises one to a higher level. But at sometimes, I guess, perhaps we miss the child in us. We miss the emotions. And do you think that is something that perhaps when a pet which is completely driven by emotions comes into our lives, he or she brings that out in us?
Yeah, I think, me too, like you, I was never comfortable with dogs because I was bitten by a dog when I was 7 or 8 years old. In those days, you had to take 14 injections, you had to go to the general hospital, stand in the queue, all of that. So when Gopi came, I kept my distance in the beginning. But it was Gopi who came near me, I would say. It was Gopi who made that leap of faith. When I would sit watching the TV in the evenings, nights, he would come and dump himself next to me. And he is very comfortable, he is very happy, he is not scared of me, but I was the one. But then when I realized, day after day, he would be sitting, he would be lying down next to me, but he was very happy, comfortable. Then I realized that I was being stupid, foolish. That here is this dog, which is showing so much of comfort, so much of relaxed behavior. And I said, look, I have to learn to be a little bit more mature. That's when I slowly started touching and then patting, all of that. So it was Gopi who taught me to love a dog. So all the credit goes to, huh? You're saying
Rohan,
something, Rohan.
I think Rohan wants to claim credit rather than Gopi because he
No, in
brought
some
Gopi.
sense, yes.
No, that's not it. I just wanted to add, Amish,
Okay.
this is something I think we all go through life seeing many incidents, episodes that surprise us truly, that make us think, hey, oh wow, okay, I didn't expect, and maybe life will throw sometimes negative curveballs, sometimes positive curveballs. But this is something I never thought I would ever see, because my father is, my, one strong memories of my father growing up is being very afraid of dogs. In fact, we used to go to Shruti's house. When you're growing up in their house, I now forget how many, 3, 5, 7. There's a whole khandan of dogs. And so, they always had to make sure they were locked away or kept in a separate floor. And my father, even if he heard barks, he would be scared, and so on. So, given that kind of incredible fear, for him to transform this way, I never thought. I don't even think, there's any. To me, this is one of the great forces of nature. This kind of love between a dog and a person, that I witnessed in my family, and I'm just shocked by it.
It shows love can transform, perhaps.
Oh, it is a great example.
Sudhaji, the book has been a massive. Sorry, Mr. Murthy, you were saying something?
Very pleasantly surprised about myself, as Rohan pointed out, because I had made effort to be away from dogs, and so this was something very pleasant, a big surprise, and I think in some way I would give credit to Gopi and of course Rohan and Sudha. They all did their own small bit in making sure that my fear of a dog was reduced.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sudhaji, if I can come back to you and Sunandaji, because the book is a massive hit in India. It's a bestseller, and which is why the second in the series has come out. What do you think it is? Because the children's book market, anyone who's in India knows it's a difficult market. What do you think it is about this book that appeals? I mean, I've read through it twice, by the way, I should tell you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What do you think it is about it that appeals?
Actually, I want to tell a very funny thing about Gopi. Gopi has a bank account, and he gets his money, and it's deposited in his account. The royalty. Yeah, he's a handsome rich dog. Okay. Um, Actually, there's a huge market for children's book. I always tell, like Shruti and I discussed this one. Shruti is my editor as well as my young friend. So she says, when I was growing up as a young girl, there were not many Indian English writers. So if I want to read something about children stories or something, I have to turn towards West and Enid Blyton and Cinderella, and most of those stories were based on Western culture, and that is the only books available for us. But when you look today, there are a lot more Indian English writers who are there, and they can write with Indian context. Okay, that way Gopi's book has become hit because Gopi talks about family and a father, mother. By the way, Tachi Ajji means my sister, Dr. Sunanda. She is called Tachi by my children, both Akshata and Rohan. So Gopi calls her Tachi Ajji. Okay, so many people ask me. I said in a third volume, I will make it clear, And Gopi has so many relations in the family. Like he has a father, mother, he has a grandfather, grandmother. Then he has cousins, Krishna, Anushka, and Didi, Shruti, and Akshata. So it's a typical Indian family where we have aunts, uncles, cousins, and we meet and we discuss. We talk about food. We talk about giving lessons. Like I tell always Gopi. In every book I say sharing is caring, or Gopi, you should be kind to others. Gopi, you should be compassionate. I'm sure every mother, granny, dadi, they will tell such things to their children. So Gopi, that shows that this kind of a story connected to Indian tradition and Indian culture, families, will be more welcome in the market, and that is what has exactly happened with Gopi books. I think he must have sold 45,000 copies by this time, you know.
I
Pretty
want to
fantastic
add
number.
something.
Uh,
I want to add something because I
Yes,
have read
Sonali.
the books. I have read the books in USA where they say green dog, blue dog, yellow dog. There is no green blue dog actually, isn't it? So, but in Gopi's story, what I have found, it represents the Indian culture because when the Gopi came to our house, we did aarti, we put sindoor for Gopi. So it represents the Indian culture also.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good thing to see in this book. And if I can just come to Akshata and children, because sorry, Akshata, you had something to say because I had one question for your children as well, for Krishna and Anushka.
Add to what my mother and my aunt said.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the mother raising two Indian origin kids living far away from home. And you think, okay, well, I want to expose them to my culture, but in a way that makes sense to them. And in a
move to India, right?
we could move to India, but
And
we
I
can't.
really like that, but I wouldn't really want the plane flight. Just saying, it's crash.
Anushka. And in context that they understand, because and I'm sure Shruti will attest, but standards are high nowadays.
Yeah.
The kids read a lot. They are exposed to so much. But what I found through my mother's writing and even preceding the Gopi Diaries was her ability to convey life's lessons in an Indian context, but in a language that they understand and in a cultural setting that they relate to. And I think it's checking all those boxes, which is what got my kids. And so I've never actually said to them, read it, it's Aji's book. They pick it up because it's their grandmother's, but they read it because they really enjoy it. And I think that chasm she has been able to sort of fill because she checks all those multiple boxes. And the number of kids, Krishna, even Simran and others in your school, who go to this very British public school and will come and say to us, "Oh, we've read your mother's books and we love it."
Can I just say something? Once I gave a copy of Grandmother's Bags of Stories to my best friend Simran. She's also Indian.
She's of Indian origin, yes.
Yeah, and then she came back the next day and said, "I read the first story and I loved it."
Right.
Spot on. You've listed the reasons why I'm a fan of Sudhaji, because she ticks all the boxes that I love. Actually,
Yes.
the stories connect, and she's deeply Indian. And what I like most, Akshata, I notice that whenever there's a break, both Krishna and Anushka get down to reading. I love people who are obsessive readers. I like that. Well done.
I'm reading and writing for you.
If I can come to Shruti. Shruti, one of the things that struck me, I'm sorry if you have something to add, but one of the things that struck me is in the book, you're kind of like the disciplinarian with Gopi. Is that a true takeout that I got from the book?
Yes, I think I play more the role of a loving teacher, where he's pampered, all right? So he gets his treats and all of that. And at the same time...
I know Aparna does that. I'll come to her. So, but sorry, you're disciplining.
Yeah, at the same time, if he's trying to eat the fish from the lotus plant in the office, or one thing that few people at home might know is that he's very possessive of his Aji, super possessive. So there are times when he won't let people enter her room, and at that time, so I have to go in and sort of convince him and sometimes cajole him, sometimes be strict with him to, okay, don't do that, we have guests in the office or whatever. So he won't let anybody touch her, especially in the afternoon, which is like her quiet time where she's focusing on other things that need to get done. He will just stand guard and not allow anybody in the room at all, no matter who it is. Yeah, and I guess that's because he doesn't consider the others as family, which is very natural for a dog. But what I did want to add was the book is written in Gopi's first voice. And I think that also makes a huge difference for kids. Most books, such books, are written as not from a dog's point of view. this is very relatable to them and gives them a sense of another child, but a dog, in a sense. So I think that's why also this adds to the charm of this book.
Yeah, true. And with the illustrations, because like at the beginning when he is banging into the mirror, I can imagine every kid laughing at it, So, yeah, those are the kind of things that work. Aparna, you used to spoil him. You continue to, at least, I don't know the personal angle. I'm just looking at the book. So, did you spoil him and do you continue to spoil Gopi?
Yes, I think I make Shruti's job very difficult because I always spoil Gopi and our other two dogs as well. I guess that's the only way I know how to show love to dogs, because dogs give so much unconditional love. It's very hard to kind of reprimand them or, be angry with them for more than a few seconds. So yes, early on, I think I won Gopi's heart by buying him all of these doggy treats and doggy ice creams, and we continue doing that with all of our dogs.
Okay, and one of the things that struck me, if I can ask Mr. Murthy and Rohan on this, when a tick was discovered on Gopi, and both of you panicked, at least the way it's written in the book, like a major disaster had happened. Can you take us through that? Mr. Murthy first and then Rohan.
No, I think whenever we have a problem at home, we would refer it to Rohan, because right from his childhood, even when he was 2 or 3 years old, he would set TV right, he would set up the VCR. That was incredible, unbelievable. So whenever I have a problem, then I would, then he's the go-to man for me. He's the go-to person. So I think he should continue now, how he handled it.
Amish, that's my father's very polite way of not giving you the answer, and I'll tell you the truth. So my father, it's not just the first time. Tick, we were all worried because I never grew up with a dog, and so I didn't know they get ticks regularly. I was quite unpert that way, and so I learned, along the way. First time I was very worried. I thought, oh, is it an infestation? Oh no, will this happen and that happen to him and so on. And whatever little I know, my father knows a gazillion times less than what I know, when it comes to dogs, I mean. So, and therefore, it is in general the kind of vector. If anything happens, in general, I'm abroad. And generally, I worry a lot about Gopi and I keep calling. But over time, I've learned to maybe be a little bit less worried. But my father doesn't know how to not do that. So, for example, Gopi had a stomach upset. So my father stayed awake late into the night, being very worried about him, like as if there's a child which is not eating, who is not well. I told him, no, look, don't worry. This is very normal. It's not a showstopper, and he'll be okay. But my father said he doesn't know how to communicate. We don't know what he's feeling. So he starts to anthropomorphize, as in put human characteristics on Gopi, and then reason about it like that. Then he'll say, "Oh, Gopi, he must miss his parents, he must miss his family." Then I had to tell my father, "No, in dogs it doesn't work that way, at least as far as we know." Then once my father called me, he's feeling very down, very down. So I asked him, "What happened?" He said, "No, what kind of a life is it? Poor creature. I can never imagine if my children were not with me and I could not speak to my children. Now, Gopi has never known his parents. He's away from his parents." Then I had to explain to him. I said, no, look, after some time, a dog's relationship with its parents changes. You can't take human angle. So I think my father, in my opinion, worries a lot about Gopi. A lot of it, of course, comes from affection and love, but it's also a function of not being used to a dog and not knowing dogs' traits and dogs' lives and so on. But he worries. He worries in the most endearing ways.
Sudhaji, one of the things that struck me in the love that exists in the family, and this comes down from ancient Indian traditions, and which I read in your earlier books as well, and I myself have seen it in my family traditions, is the bonds that exist between not just human beings, but human beings and animals, human beings and plants, We see love and relationships everywhere, and we're supposed to learn something from all those relationships. Do you think that informs the way we see these relationships among our community, or is that a possibility for all human beings?
Well, in India, I think we have every relationship has some meaning. For example, my father's side, my father was a doctor, but he came from agriculture-oriented family. So we had a well in our farm, and once in a year, my grandmother will do a puja. That she the Ganga, she the mother, she the river, she is the one who gives us food. So we should thank her. So one day we will do a puja to our water. And one day once a year, one day we used to do a puja for people tree we had in the outskirts of our house or village, because it is the Vanadevata, we should thank her. We had a cat in the house, but the cat was treated like a family member. After my grandmother's lunch, she will give milk and rice. So we have been brought up with animals, and every relationship is like a family member. When our first dog Raja died, my sister was on a duty. She's a doctor on a duty, but she said, "No, you can't bury him until I come." So we consider every relationship like a family, and which is a true Indian tradition, because we believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, plants, water, river, sun god, animals, and of course human relation are not for the advantage but to coexist. We all like to exist in a peaceful manner. It may be a plant, it may be an animal, it may be water, it may be anything, but we do not want to take advantage of them, but live in coexistence, give and take. And that is what is Indian culture, and that is what we follow, and that is the real peace I consider in through mind is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
And we also worship cow. We also worship, see, Dattatraya's
Vahana,
not
vehicle.
Vahana, along with that, and we see dogs with the Dattatreya, isn't it? And parrot as a Shukamuni. So Rusha Shrunga was the combination of deer and the human. So and then Haigriva, that is horse and the human, isn't it? Narsimha, lion and human beings. So we exist. We see in our culture we give importance to animals and the plants also.
Correct.
I agree with what Sudha said, because when we were small, when I was 7 or 8 or 9 year old, we used to have a cow at home and a calf. My mother made sure that the calf had cow's milk first.
Yeah.
And then only she would then milk the cow, because first the calf had to have its full share of cow's milk, mother's milk, and then only other family members. So that was a practice that she followed absolutely strictly. So I agree with Sudha that because our philosophy has been Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, let the whole world is my family. That's the Sanskrit equivalent of saying the whole world is my family. There is a lot of affection shown to our dogs, cats, and all other people, all other animals that live with us. So that has been a Hindu practice, that has been the Indian practice for a long time.
No, spot on, Miss Murthy. Sorry. No, spot on, Mr. Murthy. I mean, because environmentalism is almost a part of our way of life. It's not as if we have to be taught to do it. It's part of our ancestral way of life. Sudhaji, sorry, you were saying something.
No, I want to tell, like I had been to London. My both granddaughters, Krishna and Anushka, they said, we want to buy something for Gopi. So their mother gave 20 pounds each. and told you buy something for Gopi. Okay.
Ah.
I could see it like they are buying as if it's for their brother. They went to the shop, then they made such a big list. Then it crossed 20 pounds. Then the mother strictly said 20 pounds. Otherwise, these girls will buy 100 pounds. Then Krishna and Ganushka brought toys for them. They made a nameplate Gopi, Hari, Nandi, and then the bill became 25 pounds each. Then I gave the remaining 5 pounds each. I mean that indicated the way that these two girls consider Gopi as their like their brother. Once Anushka asked me, "Tell me, Aji, is Gopi your son or a grandson? Suppose he is your son, then he is my uncle. Suppose he is your grandson, then he is my cousin." So I told him, whatever way you want to interpret, you interpret. But he is a part of the family. Whenever the girls come to India, first thing is they come and hug Gopi. They come and hug Gopi, and Gopi also would like to go to their room. So if you have a dog at home, it changes the equation of all the relationships. And that's what I want to tell, that we are in general in India, dog is not meant for tying outside. He will protect us. He is like a security person. Dog is inside. Dog is with love. Dog is part of your family. He's not meant to be used. He's meant to be loved, and he's meant to be like a part of your family.
Very
That's
nice.
what I learned, and that's what I teach.
Very, very nice. If I can ask Krishna and Anushka then, that when the third book comes out, I'm assuming a third book will
Third is
come out
going to come
hopefully
out.
in a
Yes.
year.
Yeah.
Is there a story, Krishna and Anushka, that you guys know of Gopi that should be there in the third book, the one after Gopi Diaries, that you want to suggest to your Aji like right now? I want this in the third book.
Anushka,
Yes.
what do you want to suggest?
Krishna,
Krishna.
Anushka.
Well, I think maybe when he goes to Hari and Rohan's house in India and he goes to play with Hari and Nandi.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
The story with Nandi, that is a beautiful one. And in fact, I wanted to come to that. That to me showed, because that even human children struggle with, right? If suddenly there's competition. And Rohan and Aparna, that's there in the book, that they got two more dogs who were physically challenged dogs. And Gopi reacted very positively to them. Rohan and Aparna, do you want to take us through that story?
Sure, sure. Actually, this was Aparna's doing. So Aparna once went to Aparna is madly in love with all animals. In fact, she wants to make animals her career. And so she went to a shelter, and then she sent a video from there to me. And she said, "Look, we have to help him." And in the video, you see there are hundreds of dogs and so on. Many of them are indie breeds, right? Indian breeds. And then in the corner was one guy who was pulling himself with his front legs, and you could see his spine was broken and his two hind legs were paralyzed. And yet he was excitedly trying to move, a little puppy. And as soon as Aparna saw that and I saw it, we decided that's it, he's coming home. And then we decided he should grow up to have the strength of Nandi, the bull.
Yeah.
And so we named him Nandi. And to us, the other thing that we discussed is, often people give, like Western names to dogs. We said, no, we will give traditional Indian names because, and again, we don't view dog as less and so on. We view dogs are like children. They also have God in them. So we've given all very carefully thought through God's names to all our dogs. So Gopi, of course, Krishna, then Nandi. And then when Aparna was coming, she saw another dog in the shelter looking quite lonely, and he was sitting by himself and he was missing one leg. So she said, okay, 2 in 1, chalo, we'll take him too. And so he also came home and we named him Hari. And so they are Gopi's adopted brothers. And Aparna, you can add to it.
Right. I mean, I think Gopi, is such a friendly, good-natured dog that, he never hesitated to share his space. I think there's a part in the book where he actually offers his paneer, which is, he loves paneer. He's a huge fan of paneer. But he, when he meets Hari and Nandi for the first time, In order to kind of break the ice, he actually goes and gives a piece of his paneer to them.
This is true story, by the
Yeah,
way.
which is a true story.
Yeah.
So, full credit and kudos to Gopi for really opening up, his space and his home to Hari and Nandi.
Yeah, so he's a decent dog, but he's a mischievous one as well, because the book also has his first day at Sudhaji's office. Shruti, he created a lot of chaos out there.
And yeah, he totally did. So when he walked in, he was still a little puppy. So it was very interesting, though, to see him evolve, Amish, because he came in as a pup who was very scared, very apprehensive of what he's going to run into. The home was already new, and the office was also new. So when he came, and we also have a mix of people in the office, people who are familiar with dogs and people who don't know dogs. They don't know what to expect. But within a matter of days, I think Uncle took much longer to, have that connect because of his history. But within, I think, 2 weeks, the people around him warmed up to him, as did he. But he would take away our slippers. He would share his food, or we would share our food with him, the other way around. And he loved his ajis dupattas and sari pallus. So I kid you not, we have to hide her chunnis and dupattas whenever she comes to the office, because if you don't see it, if she puts it down for a second, it's gone. And then you have to run around looking for it, or he's hidden it somewhere. So he got a lot of fun along the way. For our work is also intense. With the foundations, there are good days, bad days, sad days, and he brings that element of joy to all of us at the office.
There's
Krishna
a song.
Junior, Krishna Senior, tell something about what you learnt about Gopi, what you are seeing, because Krishna Senior is very shy.
No, I think both Krishnas are quite shy. But one thing that is interesting, Amish, we were all talking earlier about our love for animals and nature in particular. And two things. One is Anushka here is a huge fan of the classics, especially Greek classics.
Ooh, okay.
Greek classics and mythology. And we talk a lot about the parallels between Indian and Greek culture. Before Christianity came into Greece, they too worshipped, and still do to a certain extent, nature, the same way in Hinduism we worship nature. So that's been a great way to learn about a different culture.
Because you were saying last night, Gaia, Mother Earth, you were saying that Hindi.
In Hindu.
And I asked you, is she called the Gaia?
Yeah, so for example, we're talking about how Sita in Ramayana is the daughter of Mother Earth, and in Greek, Mother Earth is called Gaia.
Yeah.
So that is something we've learned to appreciate just by reading my mother's books, because again, outside of the Gopi Diaries, her writing has always included this love for nature. But the way it is exemplified by Krishna is her love for animals, and in particular, which animal, Krishna? Which type of animal do you love?
Well, my favorite animals are dogs and horses.
And horses. So we have experienced a lot of these emotions and some of these actions with horses, right, Krishna?
Yeah, but some things are not very good with horses. For example, once I fell off my horse and I broke my wrist when I was 6 years old.
So the horse gets mischievous. It can be very interesting. But we recognize these personalities in your own horses, right? One listens a little bit more. One is a little bit more mischievous. One is fast. One is slow, right? So it's the same thing, but at a bigger scale.
Yeah, true. Do you have any animals at home, Krishna?
Well, we do not have well, we have horses, but we do not have pets at home, but we are getting a dog.
Nice. Okay. So Gopi is going to have another cousin in book 4, hopefully.
Probably getting a golden retriever like
Okay.
I'm going to be really bad.
Krishna taught me, Aji, how to discipline Gopi. She said, you should be firm. Look at him and said, Gopi, no. I said, how do you know? She said, I have seen with horses, I do. You should be firm, but you should love. Like Shruti says, you should love, but you should be firm in certain things.
Yes.
But being a grandmother, I can't be firm with grandchildren. Okay.
Krishna is the horse whisperer.
Yes. Yes.
I love the scene at the end of the book when Mr. Murthy, when you show Mr. Murthy speaking to Gopi. Sudhaji, if you want to answer that, or Mr. Murthy, if you want to answer that.
Either way, Murthy, if you want to answer.
No,
Actually,
I think once you get used to somebody at home, it doesn't matter whether it's an animal or whatever it is, you start expressing your feelings in words. It's normal. So, therefore, I think I also graduated to that level. I would, every day, even now, I would ask Sudha and others whether Gopi has had breakfast, Gopi has had lunch, Gopi has had dinner, did he sleep okay, etc. So once whenever I go out and he's there, I would ask him, "Have you eaten well?" etc. As if he can answer. That's what I do even with my children. Both Akshita and Rohan have gotten tired of that, and Anushka, of course, sorry, Aparna is of course too kind not to get upset. Definitely, I can imagine most people getting upset that I'm asking the same question, and I'm sure Gopi also would be feeling the same way.
at the end, actually, I felt Murthy the man of few words, and he cannot express communicate the way I communicate with the animal. So I knew Murthy has changed. Murthy likes Gopi, and using my words, I have written the end. Like what Murthy would have told in a different time. Oh, Gopi has taught me unconditional love. Once he told, once he said, oh, Gopi, I never knew the love for dog is so beautiful. So I combined all that, and at the end, I wrote that one. Making it a nice portion and adding a story of the Japanese dog.
Correct. So, one question that occurred to me when I read, because this is a series, and in all Hollywood series, Indian series, when you have a series on a character which is successful, you also have spin offs. So, do you have spin offs in mind for Nandi and Hari? And,
No, I don't plan actually. I don't plan I should do these things. But when I think in that direction, or when that emotions or the story comes to my mind, then I start writing. Like Gopi, I took probably 2.5 days to write. Or first time coming home, I wrote in 2 hours, only 2 hours. Okay,
wow.
because when the story forms in my
Sudhaji,
mind, then only I write. I
Sudhaji,
won't.
I need training from you to write so quickly then.
But it will be in my mind for a long time. For example, a novel takes for me 3 years. Okay, it will be in my mind. I'm sure, Amish, you have done the Shiva, so it must have been in your mind for a long time. Any novel takes long time, but Gopi was in front of me. I had to become Gopi and write. So it becomes so simple. So maybe in subsequent books I may write depending on what story develops in my mind. And I normally write in such cases, and the truth and truth alone, the real stuff. Because whatever said and done, imagination does not have limit, but reality has some different thing which we never expect. It's like a shock, or it's like a joy. Both I want to add and write. Sometimes I will do book 3 is there. Book I don't know after that. Shruti and I are planning to have a book 3, and we'll see when it comes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what you're talking about, reality and imagination, certainly makes sense. I read this wonderful line once. It applies to authors that the difference between fiction and reality is fiction is supposed to make sense. Real life makes no sense.
On the
Now,
contrary, I realize fiction you can. I used to think fiction. It is left to your creativity. You can imagine whatever you want. But reality has shown me whatever what really happens, I never ever imagined it happens. Like I just thought of Gopi writing a book. I never ever imagined it became so popular and so popular. I never imagined.
I've loved the book reading, and now Krishna has something to add. Krishna, yes, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say that I think, especially with Gopi, maybe this is for other dogs, that maybe he's so beautiful even when he's a puppy and when he's older. For example, Tia, this was when he was a puppy, and I think when especially golden retrievers, they sort of change. Like when they're puppies, it looks like a white ball of fur, but then Gopi especially, he is very handsome like a lion. I think that's very nice.
Okay. So he's grown more handsome as he grows up. So hopefully we'll read a bit of his love story in book 3, maybe.
Sure, Krishna. Senior
Speaking
Krishna,
of-
tell something.
Yeah.
Senior Krishna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tell me, Krishna.
I'm sure she has more real life experiences of Gopi than this one. But
Yes, Krishna.
it's nice to share.
Once I think Gopi took Anushka's ring and ran away. Do you remember Anushka?
Oh, wow.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yes, I was married.
Yeah, in the backyard. Yeah. Krishna, Anushka was after him. And then
Okay.
he doesn't require a ring. He doesn't have finger that way. She thought he has taken her ring to wear. I said, no. Gopi liked that one and for fun he took it. Okay, it's nice.
Krishna.
I'm sorry, Kiki, you had something to say.
Yeah, Bangalore Krishna.
Bangalore Krishna.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were smiling like you wanted to say something. Okay, I had a question on love story because he was also there at the wedding of Rohan and Aparna. So did he? And he was apparently running around. He ate some stuff. Did he create any chaos out there, or everything went smoothly?
Actually, we did not take him to. Rohan got married in a hotel, so we could not. They would not. So at home, we had some ceremonies, and there the Nandi, Gopi, Hari were running around without causing any problem, enjoying, and they had a photo session. All three, father, mother, and 3 kids. They had a photo session, and they liked it actually. At home, there's a big garden is there, so they were running around and no problem. Hotels
Yeah,
they don't allow.
Yeah, there was an illustration of that photograph.
Yeah. And Rohan and Aparna want to make it, enlarge it, and they want to put it. I think on their wall. They are planning that one.
Okay.
So, Amish, if I may add one thing, I think there's also a lot of mad props to be given to the illustrator Sandhya, who's done a wonderful job.
Yeah, she did.
You
Really
must
wonderful.
tell that one. Sandhya has done a fantastic job. She's in California, but she has done a beautiful work.
See, a big part in children's book is the illustrations, because it cannot just be replacing the text. It has to be something that adds to it, and it's for children. It's such an important part of when they're reading it. It's actually fantastic what what has been done here. I thoroughly loved it.
Actually, the book has to be successful. I feel correct words as a writer and a good editor and a great illustrator, particularly for children book. Like Shruti and I, we discuss how a child will feel. It is not just she'll correct the English portion or paragraph. We have much more relationship in this book than normal editor and a writer. That's the reason Shruti is part of these books, because we discuss how a child will look, how why there should be a bird. This is all Shruti's idea. A bird should be there, a creeper should be there. All those things she brings in, and Sandhya brings the illustration. Then Gopi is different photographs. My sister Sunanda corrects, and she works hard for the book release. Her book Gopi release the book. So a lot of people have contributed, but ultimately it is the Gopi who is the most important in this.
Yeah, he's the superstar of the Gopi series, and this has been a thoroughly enjoyable event on what is actually a thoroughly enjoyable book. I have a few things I want to end with, but before that, if Mr. Murthy, Sudhaji, if you want to say anything more on the book.
No. Other author, I always enjoy my books. Like any mother now loves her children, I love my books. And Gopi, it's a Gopi who has given me these ideas, observing him. So I'm ever grateful to Gopi because Gopi was there. Pandemic house arrest did not affect me much. Otherwise, it would have been very hard on me. And Gopi has brought a lot of joy in our family. Like Rohan calls up, he says, I dream about Gopi every day. So the first question Krishna Anushka asks, how is Gopi? We want to see. Like Gopi has become so much part of our conversation. So it was a great joy for me to write about Gopi. And you can, Rohan and Aparna, everybody can add whatever you
Tell-
Aparna,
Yeah.
you have not stated much.
I think Krishna wants to say.
Here, London, you guys can
Yeah.
go.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Krishna.
Krishna.
Anushka wanted to say something, or I'll say if she wants. Well, she has written a book called SNS Go Camping about this girl and her horse.
Wow.
And it's sort of, and the horse gets lost in the forest. And then the girl loves the horse so much that she goes to look for it, and it has a net and everything. It's quite a good story.
So Anushka wants to share.
Anushka, you have not said anything.
Do you want to go bring a copy of the book to show everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah? Because Anushka has taken in her grandmother's footsteps and started writing. And
Fantastic.
her first
Book published.
book,
It's in the
it's a self-published book.
Okay.
And it's a series on a girl and her, and the love between a girl and her pony, right?
Yeah.
So we are a family of animal lovers.
A girl and her pony. Okay.
A pony, yes.
The pony whisperer. Okay.
And on the back, can I show you? See this little puppy here?
That's Willie.
Okay.
That's Puppy. And it looks a bit like Gopi.
How cool is that? How cool is that? There are so many more authors than I thought on this event. Fantastic. Has been a thoroughly enjoyable event, a wonderful family event. And there are two things that strike me so much, strike me deeply on this, that if you have a lot of screens, it doesn't have to descend into the kind of TV channel debates that we have in India. If everyone is civilized, we have a wonderful conversation. This is an example of that. So my applause to everyone on this event. And the second thing that strikes me is, and this is what on this book, it's the beauty of emotions and the simplicity of emotions that animals can bring into our lives. And even someone like me who's a bit hygiene obsessed and keeps away, there's a beauty to emotions as well. Life is not just about the intellect. And lastly, that I assume is Shruti disciplining Gopi. Gopi, what are you doing?
It's a jigsaw puzzle. And Aparna has completed and we got it framed.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. That's a puzzle.
Yeah.
All credit to Aparna. She just sat at one stretch, she completed it.
And so is Bengaluru Krishna also did the same.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
Shruti, tell what was that?
Yes, she's finished it in like around 20-30 minutes in. But we didn't get it framed, so she wants to do it again.
All right. And last picture at the end of the event with the book. This is a children's book, but I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. It is the second of the massively best-selling Gopi Diaries, and do check it out. And the third one will be out soon. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Amit.
Amit. Thank you,
Thank you,
Amit.
Amit. It was a great session.
Thank you.
We all enjoyed.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye. Namaste.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Wonderful.
Bye.
Bye.